Hello, welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning into the podcast today. I really appreciate the time that you guys spend with me, man. Today's a pretty good day. It's cold outside, I know that, nonetheless, it's another day sober, man. Another day in the world of recovery and positivity, man. Before we get started, you know how I always like to get my podcast video started always with a moment of silence followed by the serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers. So if you would, please, a moment of silence. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Alrighty, man. Well, let's get started. Well, today I wanted to talk to you about, let me take these things off, about a little something that I was going through, that we went through in one of my peer support groups. And it is called active listening. And I'm going to get my glasses on here so that I could read you a little bit of, what is active listening all about. And what it is, it's just communicating skills. It's the communication skills, and it is it's active listening. It's treating listening as an active process rather than a passive one. This means participating in conversation rather than acting as an audience. Active listeners show that they are listening, encouraging, sharing, and strive to understand the speaker. And this is what this means is that you are active listening and you're participating in a conversation with anybody. This doesn't have to be a school setting or work setting. It's an anything setting. It's verbal communication between you and another human being, whether it's your friends, whether it's your kids, whether it's your spouse, your girlfriend, and your boyfriend, whatever. You know what I mean? But so that's what that is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read some of the PowerPoints that's on this thing, and then we'll go over it. You know what I mean? To see how this may help you in your life, and maybe you'll find some of the things that I read will be some of the things that you happen to pick up on and think, oh wow, man, I do that. Maybe I need to correct that, or maybe I need to do more of the communication so that I can get whatever it is that you're trying to get across to someone, or maybe it'll work for your relationship. Maybe you're in a relationship that's stagnant, and I know that women like to talk about things a lot, and for men, especially men in addiction, we have a hard time doing that, and we also think we get really defensive about things. And I know that's been the case in my personal journey, and I don't know about anybody else, but I know a lot of people that I hear talking in peer support groups and men's meetings and stuff like that, and they tend to agree, and I've noticed that the majority of men have trouble doing some of that stuff, and it's a lot of them, it's my way or the highway, or just different types of backgrounds of communication. And just so you know, communication, man, communication is a skill. It's not something that you're born with. You know what I mean? But communication is something that you automatically do when you're born. Communication is a repetitive skill that you have to learn from somebody and your environment. You know what I mean? So it's crucial to move ahead in your life if you're not an active listener, and if you have poor communication skills, it's real hard to move forward in life, man. You stay stagnant in a lot of stuff, and when you stay stagnant in your mind and in your head, and you just stay there and think that you're fearful of moving forward from what you know, it can be detrimental, and it can be it can ground you down to for me personally was addiction. You know what I mean? it ground me down to addiction. I didn't want to hear things from nobody. You know what I mean? It's an isolated type thing. And you know, you don't, when you venture off and take those walls down and start communicating, you'll see that you will go a whole lot further in your relationships, in your just, you know, one-on-one conversations with anybody, your work, your school, whatever it is. But let me. I'm going to read a little bit of this stuff, and it says, "Show your listening." It says, "Put away distractions, watching TV, using your phone, or doing other things while listening sends a message that the speaker's words are not important. Putting away distractions allows you to focus on the conversation and help the speaker feel heard." And you mean that right there, I know personally it has been instilled in me since I was a little kid. You know what I mean? How many times have you ever been in your school and your teacher, you know, tells you, okay, I need everybody's undivided attention. You know what I mean? That means put everything away and listen to me. And so yeah, I can understand that part there. And then the next one says, use verbal and nonverbal communication. It says body language and short verbal cues that match the speaker's effect. Responding excitedly if the speaker is excited, show interest and empathy. Verbal ways of communication is saying things like or huh, or that's interesting, or that makes sense, or I understand. And nonverbal ways of communicating would be nodding a head in agreement, nodding your head down like that with yes, or reacting to emotional content in like a smile, or making eye contact. You know, those sort of things are parts of communication skills. And the other part here says that you encourage sharing. Ask open-ended questions. You know, these are questions that encourage elaboration rather than yes or no responses. Open-ended questions tell the speaker you are listening and you want to learn more. You know, questions that are open-ended are questions like, what is it like to blank? Question mark. How did you feel when blank? Or can you tell me more about blank? Question mark. How do you blank? Question mark. What do you like about? Question mark. What are your thoughts about blank? Question mark. Use reflections in your own words. Summarize the speaker's most important points. Be sure to include emotional content, even if it was only communicated through tone or body language. Speaker, I've been having a hard time at work. There's way too much to do, and I can't keep up. My boss is frustrated that everything isn't done, but I can't help it. The listener is, it sounds like you're doing your best to keep up, but there's too much work. That sounds stressful. You know, so you can get how they are going on with a conversation there. You know, the speaker is talking with open-ended questions in a sense, and so it is or statements. You know what I mean? And the listener catches on that stuff, and he pinpoints, you know, what he's answering to what they're talking about, you know, kind of, on cue and stuff. So, you know, when you have conversations like that, instead of, you know, if somebody asks you something, say you're in a relationship and he goes, okay, where were you today? And then you're like, well, you know, when you're doing stuff like that, that automatically gives a bad communication point to the one that was asking the question. Now automatically she's thinking that, or he's thinking that you're guessing, like you're making stuff up. You know what I mean? So it's important to answer in a certain way and communicate it in a certain way. Okay, now it says strive to understand. Be present, it says. Listening means paying attention to body language, tone, and verbal content. Focus your attention on listening instead of other mental distractions, such as what you want to say next. When possible, save sensitive conversations for a quiet time with few distractions. Listen with an open mind. your job is to understand that the speaker's point of view, even if you don't agree. Avoid forming opinions and making judgments until you fully understand their perspective. And that's so true, because I know that I've, now in my present day, when I have conversations with people, I am mindful of what I say, because there's a domino effect to every word that you say. It could affect somebody differently, you know what I mean? And the domino effect of that, you could offend somebody, you could hurt somebody's feelings, you could make somebody feel sad, somebody feel angry. So you got to just be mindful of how you approach conversations with certain people, and go with that. And you'll find that when you have mindfulness, when you speak to people, when you have compassion, when you have love, when you have enlightenment, you know what I mean? Those types of things, when you're, because all of that stuff also manifests through your actions of how you speak. You know what I mean? When you're speaking, if you're speaking to somebody and you're looking a different way and not straight at them, they're going to think that, oh, okay, this guy, he's just, blowing me off, or he's lying, you know what I mean? Whatever. But it's something, communication is something that is a must in every part of your life, right? And if the more you communicate in a positive manner, and in a mindful manner, the better you become, the better your communication skills get. So so it's something that I know I personally in my journey had to learn how to communicate in a better way, because I can remember in my young days, in my 20s, I didn't care what anybody said. You know what I mean? I was always going to be right, and I always took offense to things. You know what I mean? I was always on the defensive. If I was in a crowd, or somebody's giving me this communicative body language, or like mad dog me in trouble, then I'm already automatically trying to do something about it. And instead of engaging and perhaps figuring out, okay, well, why is this guy looking upset? Or maybe he's got something on his mind. Maybe he's not even looking at me. Maybe he's looking beyond me. You know what I mean? Instead of just automatically thinking, okay, bam, let's look, red real quick. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, the next page here talks about relationship conflict resolution and part of communication. And it says, focus on the problem and not the person. It says, when a disagreement turns to personal insults, raised voices, or mocking tones, the conversation is no longer productive. Be careful to focus on the problem without placing blame on your partner. If a disagreement becomes personal, you should pause the conversation. And that's true, you know what I mean? I can remember myself being in many different conversations like that with, ex-relationships that I had, even friends, even family. And when the conversation got to getting a little derogatory or insulting or, upsetting, then the communication stops right there. Now you're in this different realm. And that means you're in the negative and the dark realm there. So I now stay away from those types of things. You know what I mean? If I know that the conversation is veering off to the wrong way, then I automatically time out myself, mentally, make it a mental note. Say, okay, that this is the point where I walk away, and tell the person, respectfully, look, we're getting nowhere here, so I'm going to take off. I'll come back in a few minutes, or I'll come back in an hour, or I'll come back next week. We can discuss the problem, the situation, whatever it is, you know what I mean? And it seems to work out, you know what I mean? Because when you talk to someone, when they hear you say something like that in a tone that is calm and compassionate and mindful, they don't come back with a tone that is aggressive. It hardly ever happens. You know what I mean? Because they see that you're at this level, and they catch themselves and they know, okay, well, why am I going to yell and scream at this guy when he's being, respectful to me and trying to end the conversation here in a respectful way. And it's always good to respond that way to calm things down, because once you calm down, once both parties are calmed down, whether it's you and a friend, you and your girlfriend, you and your mom, you and your dad, whatever it is, you and your boss, it always tends to work out a different way, whether other than if you're going to conversate in this, negative vibe in this realm of hostile environment. And it's always a good thing to take that time out and come back to it. You know what I mean? If it's an issue that needs to be addressed, then you come back to it level-headed. And another thing is use reflective listening. Oftentimes during arguments, we focus on getting our own point across rather than listening to our partner. Before responding to your partner, restate what they have said to you in your own words. Continue this process until your partner agrees that you understand. Next, share your side. Your partner should reflect back your ideas in their own words. Until they too understand. Using this technique will help both individuals feel listened to and understood, even if you disagree. And that's a really good point right there. But I know that right there sounds like, oh man, there's no way I could sit there and have this type of conversation with my, if I'm in a heated argument with my best friend or my girlfriend or my boyfriend or whatever it is, you know what I mean? There's no way that them or you will be able to do that. And I understand, man, because I've been in relationships where it's just like, you're dodging things coming at you, you know what I mean? And it's hard to talk to someone who's in a state like that. So, you revert back to that first part that we talked about and just walking away. And until you're both level-headed and you can come back to it and go through an exercise like the one we just read, you know what I mean? Okay, I understand what you're telling me, I understand where you're coming from, but here's my take on it. Not that mine is better than yours or mine is right and yours is wrong. This is just my opinion on what your opinion was. And if it's a disagreement to both disagree, well then if it's something that can't be resolved, then you both know that it can't be resolved, and then you either, if it's whatever the situation you're trying to resolve, then you just either are going to have to swallow that one, or somebody's going to have to be the bigger person, or maybe that's not the person for you. You know what I mean? I mean, just downright, that just, sometimes it goes that way. But let me get to the next one here. It says, use I statements. It says, when sharing a concern, begin your sentence with I. For example, I feel hurt when you don't tell me you'll be late. With this sentence format, we show that we are taking responsibility for our own emotions rather than blaming our partner. The alternative sentence is, you never tell me when you're going to be late, will often cause a partner to become defensive. You know what I mean? And I was talking about that earlier. I know that when I was in my full-blown addiction, everything I took defensive when somebody was trying to tell me something about that. You know what I mean? So I was always like, oh no, what are you talking about? It's not me, it's you. It's not me, it's them. It's not me, it's because of my work. It's not me because, I lost this or I lost that, or I went through this, I went through that. So how is it going to be my fault? I'm like this because of all that. You know what I mean? So when you draw a conversation with somebody and you say, look, I feel hurt because of the actions that you did. I feel hurt because you're not communicating with me where you're at. If that was our agreement that we were going to both let each other know, where we're at throughout the day or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's a way to avoid the defensive and avoid the confrontation of something more engaging in an aggressive way than not. So the I statements are really good because it puts a tone on the conversation that, like I said, you're taking responsibility for your own emotions. You know what I mean? You said that action is making you feel. I feel like this because of that action. You know what I mean? So again, Another one is know when to take a time out. We kind of went over that earlier. When you and your partner are becoming argumentative, insulting, or aggressive, it's a good idea to take a time out. Have a plan in place so you or your partner call for a break when needed. Spend some time doing something alone that you find relaxing. When you both calm down, you and your partner can return to solving the problem. Be sure that you do return. It isn't a good idea to leave these issues unaddressed. And, I went over that a little bit earlier, that, you always have to come back and resolve an issue that is being driven through non-communication. You know what I mean? So it seems like people all over have this problem. You know what I mean? I've had this problem in my relationships, in my life, no matter what type of, it could be in my job, it could be in a relationship, it could be, playing sports somewhere, it could be just, talking to the clerk at the store, you know what I mean? Anything. And when two people start to get into this argumentative, insulting, aggressive pattern, then it's good to take that time out. And I had that happen to me this morning when I was calling the VA to set up my Uber ride, and the gentleman across on the other side of the line was just, you need to do this, and you need to do it like this, and you need to change your address, I felt that he was getting after me for him assuming that I didn't do a few things, and I in return there told him, you know what, I've already called the VA and changed my address. It's not my fault that it's not on your computer. It's not my fault that somebody else goes, well, when you call, you need to let us know. I said, well, it's not my fault. How am I supposed to know what's in front of your computer screen? How am I supposed to know that you're not looking at the right address? I don't know that. I don't know what's in front of your screen. That's why I called and changed the address. But is it my fault that somebody didn't do their job and change it the correct way? No. But instead of going on and on with this, no ending argumentative conversation with this person, I just made it a point to just agree and stay quiet. And I told him because I told him, I said, okay, well, you know what? Are you going to do your job and set up the appointment or not? So I can hang up and call again and get another person. What's it going to be? And he's like, okay, yeah, I'll give me a second. I'm working on it. Okay, that's all you got to tell me. Don't elaborate. Don't go on about the whole situation, because it's going to do us both and not going to do us both any good. And, so I just sat there and just heard him out and finished and, just kind of, talk to him normal and nice. Okay, well, thank you very much for your help. I appreciate that you made me the appointment. Thank you very much. You have a good day. And it's better for me to go that route instead of like saying, all right, well, it's about time, or cuss him out or whatever. And then now I'm in a negative mode. I'm feeling, mad. And why am I going to let somebody get into my head and when I can't control none of that stuff right there? You know what I mean? So to me, it's better for me just to say, hey, you know what? Thank you very much for doing your job, for, getting me the ride and whatever you're doing on your end of the phone. I appreciate it. Thank you. And goodbye. You know what I mean? It's better for me to do that and get off the phone with him and get my ride instead of continue the conversation just with these argumentative things. And so it was better for me to take that time out and just say, okay, fine, and then just stay quiet. And the last one, it says, work toward a resolution. It says, disagreement is a normal part of relationship. It becomes clear that you and your partner will not agree. Focus on a resolution instead. Try to find a compromise that benefits both individuals. Ask yourself if this disagreement really matters to your relationship, and let yourself move on if not. You know what I mean? That's just back to what I was saying earlier. Either you're going to come to a resolution or you're not. And if you're not, sometimes you're going to have to eat one. You know what I mean? If it means, if you guys can't come to this agreement, or, if it's going to rub you the wrong way still, well then either you're going to have to just live with that one, because you can't always have it your way, obviously. You know what I mean? But you got to give a little bit to take a little, and it is. I find it that with open communications and being truthful and honest and willing to make things work and to, feel better with than you personally. I know for me, I have to. If I'm good, if I'm compassionate, and if I feel loving to my friends, to my family, to just a stranger, that's the way I carry myself. You know what I mean? I'm not carrying myself with this negativity and this just, a hatred to anyone. Man, I'm trying to help you. I'll talk to you. I'll help you. I'll smile with you, man. I'll break bread with you. And I just find that when you do stuff like that, your life gets a whole lot better. It's a whole lot less stressful. And it really is, because when you show love, it shows in the actions, it shows in your facial features, it shows in your eyes, it shows in the things that you think about, and the things when you're thinking positive like that and spiritual like that, you manifest positive spiritual actions. You know what I mean? And it's great, man. I can guarantee you, man, that right now I've been leading my life that way, and it has been a freaking blast. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I still run into situations, but I know how to navigate through those a whole lot better than I did years back, and the times that I was in the addiction. You know what I mean? Because if anything were rose, if I had any type of negative arguments or conversations with people, that always led me to using. I'd rather use than listen to somebody. I was always in the I don't give a F mode, and when I was in that mode, for me, it was just let's go use it. That's just, I'm better that way, and I'm glad and grateful that by the grace of God that I'm not doing those kind of things anymore and leading my life in a better and more spiritual and loving way and a mindful way. You know what I mean? So I hope that all this information has been helpful for somebody out there. I do this podcast so that I can, do my due diligence of service work and give it away what has helped me along the way to get to where I'm at today in this world and road to recovery and sobriety, man. And it's been great. But I just wanted to kind of talk to you guys about that stuff, since it was one of the subjects that we went through this whole thing in one of my peer support groups. I figured I'd share it with the audience in my podcast. So I hope that you guys found it insightful and helpful. So I guess at this time, if you would please give me a like, give me a thumbs up, maybe even tap that subscribe button, and just know that when you do tap that subscribe button and that sort of thing, you are helping another veteran like myself, another person that's dealing with drug addiction, another person dealing with alcoholism, another person dealing with PTSDs, post-traumatic childhood experiences, and also dealing with sadness, suicidal thoughts, and anger and depression and those sort of things. And because I've dealt with all those things at one point in time in my life, and that's why I do this, so that I can help the next person that may be struggling and that may need to hear one of something like that something that I might have can help somebody, because I know that I sat in a meeting at one point in my life and heard a guy's story, and his story changed my life, and I got 10 years out of sobriety after listening to that man's story. So that's my due diligence is to give away what has helped me along the way, and I appreciate you guys watching and listening. I guess until the next time on When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.